Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming out today. Today, we are going to be talking about financial fit, and we are going to be using Edmit as our tool to kind of help us navigate that area. So, first, you might be thinking, well, Miss Small, what is Edmit? Like, I just have no idea what it is. You're talking about it, it's cool, but what does that mean? So definitely here to answer that. And before I kind of show you like what the website looks like, I did just want to show you a intro video. And so let me go ahead and get that pulled up for you all. All right, so we're gonna go to YouTube. And so far, thank you all for joining. For some of the people that we have right now, if you wouldn't mind maybe just sharing in the chat any places.
All right, everyone, welcome to a tour of Edmit. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can sign up, access your free account for...
Sorry. I was just wondering, what schools are people looking at? So I know that we have at least one junior in here. So if you have an idea of any schools that you're looking at, that you're maybe just like, I have like no idea what this looks like, or, you know, I just don't know what the cost is, let's talk about it. And so I really want to make sure that this is relevant to you. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of capturing any schools that you might have an interest in. So definitely feel free to drop it in the chat, and we can get to it. And now I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to view this while those chats come in.
Both our app and the course, and then I'll show you around the app just a little bit. First, we'll start on a landing page. You'll have one of these custom for your school, and it will most likely look a little bit different than the one I'm on here. But when you're ready, go ahead and click Get Started. Now, the next thing we'll do is ask for your first name, last name, email address, and password. Feel free to put those in here. Once that's all set, scroll down and click Next. You'll then be asked whether you're a parent or a student. For the purpose of this tour, I'm going to select Student. The next thing we ask you is your high school and your year of graduation. The following page will ask you a little bit about your academic profile. To continue, we'll need your GPA and at least one test score. If you haven't taken a test yet, or you don't plan to, feel free to give us an estimate of where you think you might have scored. We'll then ask for your zip code. I'm going to go ahead and use the same one as the high school. The next question is, what is your family's household income? If you don't know this, we can estimate it based on your zip code, but feel free to enter an estimate as well. The next set of questions aren't mandatory, but they will help us build a better picture of who you are financially. This will help us make our estimates more accurate and customized to you. This question is, what is the total amount you and your family have saved for college? I'm going to go ahead and put in a placeholder here and click Next. The next question is, will you have any additional financial support from your family during college? The default here is 10% of household income. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. The next question is, will you work while you're in college? The default here is $3,500 per year, which is an estimate based on 10 hours of work per week at $15 an hour. I'm going to go ahead and lower it a little bit. At any time, if you want to clear out a field, just click the little X on the right side. The last question before we get to the dashboard is to pick a college we want to look at first. I'm going to select University of Richmond. Then you can go to your dashboard. When we get here, we'll be greeted with a message saying we can go to the micro course and learn a little more. I'm going to click this and get started. To get access to the micro course, we'll get sent an email invitation. In the meantime, let's walk through the app. The first place I suggest you go is your profile. You can click in the top right, or you can click here, input estimate and contribution data. We can make sure all the information we put in during onboarding saves correctly. My first name, last name, household income, and zip code look good. Below that, my high school and graduation year look good as well. GPA, ACT score. If you want to put in other test scores, you're more than welcome to. Or if you want to adjust your GPA to be weighted, even if it's on a 4.0 scale, you're more than welcome to. Below that, it looks like our financial information saved as well. It's worth noting that as you get other scholarships from outside sources, you're welcome to add them here. Additionally, when you calculate your EFC from the FAFSA, you can put that in here. The next place I suggest you go is the college list. Here we see our first college, University of Richmond, with an estimate of $24,000. This is the amount we expect you to pay each year, and estimated loan payments upon graduation of $531 a month, a total loan amount of $47,000, first year earnings of almost $52,000, and a financial grade of a B. While this school looks pretty good and definitely more affordable than the sticker price of $68,000, I'd like to find a better value. Let's go to our Discover Colleges page. Here we can see schools sorted by financial grade. We can also filter by size, region, public and private, certain majors, or even more options. We can select high merit aid, high need aid, popular at my high school, near my zip code, or even a max estimate that we'd like to pay each year. As we scroll down, we can select some of these schools. Let's see. Rice University looks like a pretty good option. With an estimate of $23,000, estimated loan payments upon graduation of $483 a month, and strong first year earnings, I'm going to go ahead and add this to my list. You can repeat this process as many times as you like. Browsing the Discover Colleges page is a great way to learn about new schools that might be a great financial fit. The next place we'll go is to the course. So we can now hop back over to our email where our confirmation email is waiting for us. You will receive 2 of these emails. You'll want to click on the one that says complete your enrollment in Better Off After College full course. In this email, click confirm email. You'll then be asked to confirm your name and create a password. Once that's set, click finish and go to course. Here you'll see Better Off After College full course. Now our course is stage-based, meaning there's content from even before high school all the way through high school into college. You're welcome to check it out at any time and do any module that seems interesting. Let's go ahead and move back into the app. The next place I'll show you is our Learning Center. The Learning Center is a collection of any newsletter or article that Edmit or our content providers have ever written. Now, while it's organized here down below by stage, by topic, as well as a list of other resources and extensions, we also let you search. So for example, I want to see schools that meet 100% of financial need. I'm going to go ahead and search 100% and click on schools that cover 100% of financial need. Here we can see an article with a list of schools that cover 100% or all of my financial need. Pretty great news. Another one that seems pretty common is EFC. So as you start filling out your FAFSA, you're maybe going to wonder, why is my EFC so high? How does household income correlate to EFC? What is a good EFC? All of these questions are great questions, and we're super excited to be able to provide you content and resources to answer them. Moving back into the app, we can check out a couple of the other tools we have. Financial Grade Report will break down the cost for a school. Student Loan Report will let you visualize your loans. Here you can upload aid letters. And additionally, when it comes time in the spring, after you get your aid letters, you can actually appeal for additional grants and scholarships from the university. So we do offer an appeal template that you can work with your family or your counselor on, and you can copy and paste this letter, adjust as necessary, and submit to the college. Thanks very much for coming by. I'll end here on our college list. I appreciate you taking the time to check out Edmit.
All right, so that was just a brief overview of Edmit. And so now what I want to do is go ahead and just kind of show you in real time with some real life examples of, what it looks like. So we're gonna go ahead and new share. All right, and so if we're here, you all are, when you log in, it should kind of look pretty much the same. So once you log in, like he said, you're gonna come to the dashboard. So currently I'm in the college planning stage. But you can also see all of the stages. So just kind of depending on where you are. So if you're new to the process, I would definitely just kind of start with stage one. So understanding college finance basics. And that is going to go through a lot of key terms related to paying for college. That's going to be the main goal. So that's understanding what it means to save for college, what, maybe different savings accounts are out there. It's going to talk about, the cost of college and what that actually means. And then also just kind of getting into that nitty gritty about the types of financial aid and scholarships. So that's talking to you about the different types of loans that you could be offered, talking to you potentially about different scholarships that could be offered, and just really understanding like what each piece means. And so then if you are maybe a little bit further along, you already know some of the terms and terminology to use when looking at your financial aid award letter. So now it might be time to determine, what does affordability mean to my family? And that can look different for everyone because everyone's situations are different. So number one, that might be starting with, deciding how much to pay for college. So if you already know off the bat that you are not trying to, maybe go to an Ivy League that's going to cost, 6 digits every year, then we know that. We know that we maybe want to stay like in state because that tuition is going to be maybe closer to the 20,000 and lower range. And so if we know that, then those are definitely ways that can guide us in our process of finding a financial fit for school. And then also just kind of moving into how much student debt loan or how much student loan debt is too much for me. What is the cap that I want to take? Is it zero? Is it, I don't want to go over borrowing $50,000? Is it, I don't want to go over borrowing $5,000? So really just kind of determining what debt might look like for you and your family, what might be feasible for you to handle. And then also considering just college ROI, so just kind of like looking at affordability and looking across the board. So then you can, the main goal in this section is definitely going to be to approximate like how much you can pay for college, including the loans that you're willing to take, not necessarily how much the school is going to be able to get back or give back to you. So this one is just understanding how much your family would be able to pay if you needed to. So then we're going to go into creating and evaluating a college list. So just how to research colleges, comparing the net price, considering a college's financial health. And so this is really just kind of getting an idea of what schools, we've determined how much debt we're willing to take out, or, what affordability means to our family. So that includes debt, scholarships, things like that. And then also thinking about, now it's time to look at all those things and figure out what schools kind of match that financial piece that I'm looking for. And so this section is really going to help you with that. So if you are sophomore, junior, even senior at this point, if you don't necessarily know where you're wanting to go, I would kind of skip down to this section and just kind of start looking at schools that might interest us. And then that way we can also kind of compare what that cost would look like. All right, and then this step is choosing the schools and applying for financial aid. So this one is more so going to come into play in the month of October once FAFSA opens up. So this one's really talking about FAFSA, so that like federal and state funding eligibility, also talking about the CSS profile. So if you're a student who's maybe going to Duke or interested in applying to UNC, that would be something that you would have to look into. And so they give you a lesson about that. And then also just kind of talking about like, is your college list financially balanced? Do you have, not just schools that are balanced as far as like GPA wise, how you match fit, or is that a reach for you? But you can do the same thing with the financial piece of it. So, would it be a reach to try and pay for this school? Would it be more so of a match? Like, would it be a little bit easier? Would it be, a safety school because I know that I can afford this just based on scholarships and financial funding from like parents, not even necessarily looking at financial aid. This is going to kind of give you that good balance just to kind of see where you might fall. And then now in the spring, if you're a senior, this should kind of be the area that we're moving towards, which is comparing our financial aid offers. So number one, just kind of looking at how to read your financial aid letter. So that's going to be really important because a lot of times when students are looking at that financial aid letter, it is going to be, a little bit confusing because you might see cost of attendance and think, oh, I have to pay for all of that. But this section is really going to talk to you about what are you actually paying for? What is the school actually going to be billing you as a direct cost? And what is the school maybe just suggesting that you should have because it might be good for you just in the long run? So that could be like books, transportation, miscellaneous, anything like that. Those might be indirect costs. But they don't necessarily tell you all of that in the letter. So just kind of being aware of that. And then also talking about financial aid appeals. So like was mentioned in the video, you're definitely able to appeal your financial aid. It's not necessarily to say that, you are definitely absolutely going to get whatever aid you ask for. Sometimes it might be that, you are describing your situation. You're letting them know that I, have gotten these offers from other schools, but I would really like to come here. And in order to do that, I would need, $5,000. And, the school is going to read that. They're going to do a professional review of your, FAFSA and all the financial information that you turned in. And then they're going to give you, what they can give you. And so if that is $5,000, great. Sometimes it might be a little less. It could even be a little more. It's really just going to be about that self-advocacy. So if you know that once you get that financial aid piece, it's maybe not looking like what you need it to, let's definitely talk about those financial aid appeals. And we can also kind of get into that a little bit later as well. And then last but not least, I think this portion is also really important, coupled with that comparing financial aid award letters, because essentially once you make that decision, not necessarily you're stuck with it, but once you make that decision, it is going to be a financial piece that's going to be a part of your life. And so now what we're going to want to do is start thinking about, okay, well, how can I better manage my money so that in the future, I know that I will set myself up for success? This is where stage 6 comes in. So really looking at creating a spending budget. So you might be thinking right now, oh, I have a job and I, have these bills and I use this money to do this. But do you actually have a budget that you can look at and be like, okay, I know that this is what I get every 2 weeks, every month, every week, whatever, on my paycheck. This is how much I'm going to use for bills. This is how much I'm allocating for fund money. This is how much I'm doing for this, and that. Really starting to get a grasp on that and an idea of, how we're allocating money to different pieces of our life. That's going to be a really foundational thing that we're going to need to start working on in college. But then once we get out of college, trust me, I have started working on a budget myself because I have run into that where I was just like, I need to know where my money is going, how I'm spending it to just better be able to save and live my life. And then you can also start planning for how you'll pay your bills. So going back into that budgeting piece of it, then evaluating your student loan options. So looking to see, what would be the best options for me if I took out a subsidized loan or if I took out an unsubsidized loan? What would it look like if we took out Parent Plus loans or just other types of loans just in general? And then also thinking about considering private loans because sometimes those can have better interest rates than like a public loan or like an educational one. But that is all in this section, stage 6. So I would definitely recommend if you're a senior, even if you're, a rising first year, sophomore, junior, really looking at each piece of this, I would definitely start from the beginning and go all the way through. I wouldn't necessarily stop at, choosing schools and applying for financial aid. Make sure we're going all the way through, just so that we're getting all the information as possible, or as much information as possible. And so I did see one person in the chat gave me a suggestion of schools. And so I did already place a couple of schools on my list that I know of that are really popular for some of our students. So looking at A&T, looking at UNC Charlotte, UNC Greensboro, Winston-Salem State, and then just for funsies, I did Colorado State University. And so I'm also going to add, I want to say, yeah, so I want to say that community colleges aren't added just yet to this feature. This is just for four-year institutions. So that might cause a little bit of an issue, but we can definitely work around that. So if we are, let's just play around with A&T. So if we look at their financial grade report, and we're coming here. So basically it's showing you, everyone pays something different, but let's find mine. So if my household income, that's looking real high. So let's go ahead and lower that back down to something that looks a little more reasonable. And then if we hit continue. So just so we know, the published costs, and this is what I was talking about previously, so indirect versus direct costs. So the published cost is that sticker price of the school. Now, you probably won't be paying that amount. Like 9 times out of 10, you probably won't be paying that amount, because what we're going to do is we're going to take out things like miscellaneous, transportation, those things that you would be putting your money into. And we're just going to look at the things that the school is charging us for the published costs. The average cost, now that is going to actually be the price that you would probably pay, but still might be a little bit lower, just kind of depending on meal plans and room and board and things like that. So even though, a school's published cost might be like $18,000, the average cost for that school might be closer to 9,000, just give or take the financial aid and, taking off some of those extra costs that they are estimating for. And so then we're going to concentrate on our Edmit though. So that is basically something that is very specific for us. So it's definitely going to look different for each person as you're kind of going through and playing around with Edmit. But this is essentially kind of giving us what we would be paying for school. So the published cost was 18,000. The average cost is 9,000. But what we'd be paying, just kind of based on some of the financial information that I put in, scholarships and things like that, our estimate per year might be a little closer to about $11,000. All right, and so basically, let's take our estimate and how we can plan to pay for school. So if we are looking at our savings, if you have any savings, I'm going to say that I don't. I did not have savings when, oh, okay. Well, we'll just say we have $50. Didn't really have that much savings for college when I was going in. So that might be a little bit closer for some of you as well. So annual cash contributions. So this is what you plan on contributing to pay. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that 10%, just to be an example. And annual wages, I'm gonna say I made about 2,000, and then I haven't really been applying for scholarships, so my amount's gonna be at 0. All right, and so this is gonna show you how you're gonna pay for 4 years at A&T. So essentially, this section in the green is gonna be the cash contributions times 4. So that's basically saying, all right, this is how much I said I would be able to pay for school. And over the 4 years, that is what I'm going to have to contribute. All right. And if we're looking at student wages, If I'm going to be working all 4 years and I estimate that I'm going to be making about $2,000 annually, then this is the part of it that's going to be made up of my student wages. Right. And so all of that together kind of shows us that about 40, if we round up $45,000 of our money would be coming from our cash contributions and then our student wages. But let's say that we are somebody who is out here really applying for scholarships. And let's say that I've gotten, I don't know, a $5,000 scholarship. Then if we look at that, it's affordable for us. So our estimated loan amount would be about this much to be able to, okay, that was gonna let me click on it. Let's go ahead to the next thing. Yeah, and so basically saying that over the course of 4 years, if we were to be able to contribute money from our cash contributions, contribute some scholarship money as well, and then contribute some student contributions, then at the end of the day, this is gonna be about what we would like earn coming out of school to be able to pay back what we owe for school. So if we're looking at majors, let's just go with accounting. So this just kind of gives you an idea of like how much you would be able to pay back after graduation. So if you went into accounting and you went to A&T, if this is your estimated first year earning, then this just kind of shows you that you would be able to kind of pay back that money if you were to take out any loans from them. So just really showing you what affordability looks like, what you would be able to contribute in the future, so that you can start planning now to get an idea if, you know, certain majors would be good for you, or, you know, if maybe we need to look at a different major, because maybe that is what would serve us a little better. So then it also kind of talks about like worse earnings for you. But we are going to continue. And it gives you another just kind of like chart basically. So talking about putting it all together. So looking at what's more affordable, who has lower earnings, and what their financial grade is. So this, and if you add more schools, they'll definitely be in here as well. But this just kind of gives you an idea of, all right, so if I know that A&T has, you know, it's a little more, it's more affordable. I have a little bit lower earnings once I graduate. It's going to be an okay school for me. But if the school was a little bit more affordable and upon graduation, I, you know, did maybe something like engineering, and maybe that gave me a higher earning, then that might go into the best category, which might give us a grade of an A. And so that just kind of gives you an idea of, okay, if I go to this school, I do this particular major, this might be what my income and earnings might be. This is how I can, you know, work backwards and kind of help afford this. And so then now we can view our report. Wish I had some drum roll music. Okay. And if we're looking here, then we're just looking at some of our key takeaways. So essentially, this estimate is what we would be paying per year for school. So essentially, just based off of our financial information that we placed in there, it would be affordable. Now, the earnings wouldn't be, you know, necessarily so great once we graduate, but you know, you would be able to pay for the school upon graduation. And so then it just kind of gives you that same, just so you know, going back over the published cost, average cost, and then the estimate. So just really giving you an overview of what that cost and affordability would look like for you. And then you can also continue to play around with, the savings. So if you maybe just got really ambitious and you saved a whole lot, you could do this. You could change the annual wages and scholarship money to basically base it off of or be a more accurate representation. And I would also say that as you receive scholarships, I would come back in here and just continue to update the other scholarship amounts so that you know that your Edmit is as up to date as possible. All right. And then if we go back to our college planning dashboard, one of the other things that I think is really cool, like he mentioned, is you can add your financial aid offer letter. So if we got an offer letter from UNC Charlotte, we can attach the aid letter if we want to. But one of the other things that we can do is just looking at the aid letter, we can pretty much look at cost of attendance. So what is everything that they're charging us? And then give us the breakdown. So what amount of grants and scholarships or free money did they give us? So then that would give us our net price of what we would actually be paying. And then from there, you can kind of calculate, okay, well, if they gave me work study, this is what that would be. If I got any loans, this is what that would be. And then you can save the changes, just so then that way you're able to look at your financial aid offers. And then once you actually have all of them listed, you can see, okay, this is the published cost of attendance. This is how much I got in grants and scholarships for each school. And this is the actual cost I'm going to be paying for each school. And then that just kind of gives you a good comparison chart. So you can look at it and be like, okay, I know that if I want to attend this school, this is going to be how much it costs. Maybe this is how much, scholarship money or outside scholarship money, should I say, that I would need to look at. Or this is how much outside scholarship money, I'm estimating I would probably need in order to help me cover that actual cost. And so then I would also encourage you to look at the student loan report if you can. So it looks like for some schools, it might be that, based on your savings and contributions, that I wouldn't necessarily need a loan for A&T, but let's look at something out of state. And let's look at Colorado. So if we're looking at Colorado, and we are essentially doing a lot of the similar, financial information that we saved for A&T, then looking at the totals, it is going to look like, our private student loan amount could be about 33,000, and our federal loans could be about 27,000. So really looking at this, maybe Colorado State might not be the best school for us, just kind of based off of, if you're maybe not wanting to have any loans after graduation, if you're really wanting to, cut back on that cost of what you have to pay back, then maybe this school might not be the best for you, because that does look like a lot of money to have to pay back in loans. And then also, if you get into the nitty gritty of it, if you're looking at the federal student loans, this number could also potentially go up, just depending on, if you have subsidized versus unsubsidized loans and parent plus loans and all that kind of fun stuff. But if we're maybe looking at a different in-state school, like maybe let's go to Winston-Salem, based off of our savings and our contributions, we might not need a loan for them either. And I feel like it might be pretty similar with, but then if we come to UNC Charlotte, based off of our savings and contributions, then we would still come out needing to take out some loans. So we might, get some institutional loan amounts and some federal funding. But if we're looking at, I don't want to have more than or maybe I don't want to have more than $10,000 worth of debt once I actually graduate from school, then if we're looking across the board, then UNC Charlotte would still be a contender, because if we add these two loan amounts together, that's going to be less than 10,000. And This is based on a 10-year repayment. That's what you would be paying back over your lifetime. So that can just kind of give you an idea of, okay, well, I know that maybe going out of state might not be the best idea for me just based on, my goals for my financial future, but staying in state probably would be better for me. And I know that if I wanted to go to Winston or A&T, that I would come out with no loans, but I know that if I wanted to go to maybe like a UNC Charlotte, that I would come out with closer to maybe like $10,000 in loans. So just really getting that idea of, okay, if I go here, this is the cost and the price what I would have to pay back, or if I go out of state and want to go here, this is what I would have. And then my favorite way to just kind of look at what affordability looks like as well. And this is just kind of the last thing, and I will stop sharing my screen and just kind of take any questions if they have come in. But really kind of looking at this financial grade piece and just really looking at comparing your schools. And one of the other things that I like is that if you know that, we looked at Colorado State, we're not going out of state, go ahead and take it off of your comparison list. If I know that looking at UNC Charlotte, that's going to give me about $10,000 of loans, I don't want to look at that either. Okay, cool. So I know that out of my college list, these are the ones. So Winston-Salem, A&T, and University of North Carolina at Greensboro, so UNCG. I know that those are going to be my top 3 schools that if I go to them, I know that it's going to be affordable for me. And I know that graduating from there, I have a plan and I'm ready to be able to pay back anything, that I need to if I have to. And but we did get University of Alabama. Okay, let's actually go ahead and take a look at that one since that popped in. Thank you for sharing that. And also, while I'm doing this, if you have any questions that you would like for me to touch on, or if there's anything that I need to go back and explain a little better, please feel free to drop that in the chat for me. I'm more than happy to go back for you. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at University Alabama. And let's look at the University of Alabama. And so if we're looking here and we're looking at the financial grade report, and also keep in mind that when you are in here looking at, different financial grade reports, your estimates are going to be different. I just did mine based off of the averages for my zip code. So I did 27713, and this is the average for this zip code. So for the University of Alabama, if we're going to go out of state, it's going to be about $28.4 thousand per year that we would have to pay. And so just thinking about affordability, this might not be the most affordable place for us to go, but if we're looking at, what it might look like if we graduate from the school and get a job and we're able to pay back those loans, it does look like, our earnings might be a little bit better. So just kind of depending. And then going back down to the cost, scrolling down. So if we're looking at the University of Alabama, it does look like our loan amount is going to be about $58,000. So it would be a stretch just based off of that, because over 4 years, it's going to come out to be $113.7 thousand over 4 years that we'd have to pay back, or that the cost would be for the school. And out of that 58,000 is going to be loans, which might not be the best thing if, we are coming out and having a 51K job. We might want to go back and maybe look at, A&T, because we don't have any loans there. And when we graduate, we are making 38,000, but that's going to pretty much all be coming to our pocket and not be going back to paying any loans. While, if we went to the University of Alabama, these earnings while it looks like a nice number, it would probably be a little less or even closer to that 38K just based off of, what we would have to pay back for that loan amount. If we are, let's just go ahead and add Spelman here so that we can compare. And okay, perfect. Oh, let's do these three. All right, and so if we are looking at Spelman College, Spelman is out of the three going to be the highest per year for cost. So it's going to be almost 4 times as much as A&T, but like twice as much as University of Alabama. And so again, similar to University of Alabama, the affordability of the school might not necessarily be the best for us, but our earnings after school, those might kind of make up for that affordability piece of it. So then if we're coming down here and we're looking at our estimate, if we're looking at the actual published cost of the university, it is that $54,310. But for the estimate, you would probably be paying about $40,000. So, that's about $6,000 different. But it is a lot different from the $11,000 that you would potentially having to pay for A&T. So this just gives you a really good idea of sticker price versus, what you would actually have to pay. And so then it already tells us that our least expensive college is A&T. Great, we know that. But then if we come down here and we're looking at affordability, I did want to note that I changed my savings to $5,000. Again, our annual cash contributions are still at 10% of our income. So that's saying that, we would be able to support about almost $10,000 per year for our student. Annual wages, about $2,000. So that's what I would save from working if I was a student, and then scholarship amounts, just saying, any private scholarships, outside funding. So looking at that, if we're looking at loan amounts, looking at A&T, it'd be about 38. Looking at loan amounts for Spelman, it would be about almost 64,000. So that is a lot of money. And if we're looking at the breakdown, our earnings are about $42,000. So yes, that would be enough to kind of go back in and be able to live, a healthy lifestyle, healthy, maybe modest lifestyle, and still be able to pay back those loan amounts. But like I said, if we're looking across the board and doing a comparison, it's, if we're looking at out of state versus out of state, Spelman, our loan amount is 106,000 versus University of Alabama is about 58,000. And then earnings, Spelman is about 42,000 versus University of Alabama is about 51,000. So if we're thinking about, okay, if I want to go to school and I know that I want to graduate and I want to have the best possible chance of coming out with either no loans or little to no loans as possible, then looking at this comparison, University of Alabama might be a better fit for us than Spelman College. So if we're looking at out-of-state comparisons, like I said, University of Alabama might be a little bit better for us. But then if we're going back and we're like, okay, so out of state, I know Alabama is going to be where I want to go. But I know that in-state wise, A&T is my number one. What's the comparison between the two of those? Then that would be looking at that loan versus earnings. And again, the earnings for graduating, and I think I did like accounting for this major. So accounting would get us about 38K out of right off the bat out of graduation. But again, we wouldn't necessarily, have a loan payment because we were able to contribute, that amount as we were in school. And so once we graduate, we wouldn't have loans and we'd be able to pocket the entire 38,000. If we decided to instead go out of state and choose University of Alabama, then yes, our earnings would be 51K, but we would also have to subtract for what we would have to pay back in our loan amounts, as well as what we would have to pay just as far as like bills and things like that. And we can kind of get into, if you want to look at serious careers, and thinking about what the actual amount would be, I would definitely kind of look at that and see if that's something that you think is feasible. And so then just coming down, it does go ahead and let you know that once again, Spelman and University of Alabama, being out of state would be a little bit more of a reach versus A&T might be a little bit more affordable for you. But again, it's going to be, your decision is going to be based off of what you think your family affordability is, and what you all could handle. So I do just also want to note that in this package as well, this loan amount might potentially be 58,000 after graduation. So that's not to say that, when you were in school, if they gave you like an unsubsidized loan or anything like that, that wasn't, necessarily accruing interest while you were in school. So those are just definitely things to just kind of keep an eye out for. But again, I would encourage people to start off with your course lessons. So looking at the Learning Center and really using those resources in the Learning Center, but then also in that micro course as well. So really looking at that micro course, going through some of those things. If you know that you maybe just have zero idea what some financial aid terms are and you want to brush up, or if you are, just needing to know what they mean, then I would definitely encourage you to kind of visit those pages and learn first. And then we can kind of go back in and start playing around with the actual Edmit system itself. So then that way we just know that when we're going in, we know, what loans are which, we know what scholarships we're looking for. We know just the terminology in general so that when we're looking, we're not necessarily confused. But I will go ahead and stop talking now. And if there are questions that people have either about Edmit or just in general about financial fit, then I'm definitely happy to talk about that with you all now. Or if not, then I'm definitely happy to just kind of drop my information in the chat. And if you would prefer to visit Edmit and play around with it and then kind of ask questions, then that's also definitely a perfectly fine course of action as well. But I will go ahead and drop my information in the chat for you all. Cali.com/hillside advising. So that is where you can go to make an appointment with me if you would like. So if you would like to make an appointment to just be able to go through and just like look at, Edmit and be able to talk with me and just kind of have a sounding board about, okay, well, I know that this is, what it's showing me about affordability, but what does that actually mean for me? Like I want to talk about it with somebody else. And then yes, like Miss Jackie said in the chat, this workshop is also going to be posted in Game Plan College's YouTube channel. So definitely, if you haven't already checked out the link where you went to sign up, I would definitely just kind of refer back to that page because that is where the recording link is going to be as well. So you can either go to YouTube and, just look up Game Plan College and you'll see us there. Or if you want to, you can definitely just kind of go back to that workshop page and look up that. And then also, if you are in the community, Game Plan College has their own Calendly as well for advising. So if you would, like to make an appointment with them to chat, I love Game Plan College. I love working with them. Miss Jackie, Christina, everybody is just wonderful, super, super nice. and scholarship opportunities, if you need help applying to school, doing your residency, any of that fun stuff, I'm here to help. But Game Plan College is also here to help at the Emily K Center as well. And they have definitely been huge assets for me as I've been an advisor. So I would definitely encourage students to take advantage. And I want to say, and Miss Jackie, correct me if I'm wrong, that you all have not just programs for, students that are in high school right now, but you also potentially have programs for students that are in college and needing support, or I'm not sure if I'm getting that. Yes. Okay, cool. So yes, so if you need support really at all stages, Game Plan College, I would definitely suggest hitting them up. So, if you needed it right now for getting to school, great. If you would like to just have continued support as you are going through college, I would definitely ask you all to use them as a resource, lean on them. That's what we're here to do. But that just kind of concludes my portion of today's presentation. So I just want to say thank you all for coming out today. Thank you for dealing with some of these technical difficulties on Zoom. And I am happy to kind of stick around if there's questions and if people want to come off of mute. But if not, then y'all are welcome to have the rest of your weekend and the rest of your Friday. And like I said, if you have questions, please feel free to hit up any of us, and we are more than happy to assist you.